is Monday, October 17th here in Draft Shark Studios in Rochester, New York. Welcome to the Week 6 recap edition of the podcast. I'm your host, Matt Schaff. With me, as always, for this one is Adam Krautwurst. And Adam, it's gray, it's wet, it's gloomy in Rochester, but pretty sunny to be a Bills fan right now after the way yesterday's game went, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. I'm disappointed they didn't beat them by more. They did cover the spread, though, which is good enough for me.
I was surprised that we didn't get more points from that game, but so, it didn't end up being truly disappointing on that front, but a little bit less than I would have guessed going in.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it more whenever we get there, but both opening drives for both teams were full field drives that ended up in turnovers. So it's like that could have easily been 14 quick points right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. We'll start in a different game because we're going to go in order from early to later games, and we'll go with a more surprising game, really. Falcons 28, 49ers 14 in this one. It's shocking that the Falcons would beat the 49ers by 2 touchdowns, but from a fantasy standpoint, we like the big game for Brandon Ayuk just because it kind of reminds us that he's capable of getting it. I don't know that there's a whole lot to take away other than if the 49ers fall behind and throw the ball a lot more than they usually do, they will involve Brandon Ayuk going forward.
Yeah, it was good to see out of Ayuk. Hopefully everyone started him. I mean, with bye weeks and injuries and stuff, I have him in very few spots, but where I do have him, I was able to start him because, you kind of had to this week. Great to see him get going. Great to see them get him involved in like short screen stuff. He scored on one of those and get him involved deep down the field early, which should have opened things up for others. I mean, Debo got his touches too, but yeah, they struggled offensively outside of like the second quarter. I think they really exploded first and second quarter. After that, they kind of fell apart, but Ayuk looked really good.
Yeah, and that it was the surprising struggles for me. Jeff Wilson Jr. only got 7 carries in this game because they spent a lot of it trailing. That's going to kill rushing volume. I'm not sure how much to take away from that. Ty Davis-Price returned for this game from injury, only played 1 snap. So we'll see if he's just well behind both Wilson and Tevin Coleman, or if they're easing him back in coming off of short-term IR. And then, in a few weeks, we've got Elijah Mitchell coming back as well. So this is going to get to be a very crowded backfield very soon. And we'll see, exactly how much room there is for everybody.
Yeah, I'm thinking it'll be Elijah Mitchell's backfield when he comes back. Elijah and probably Jeff Wilson. Yeah, it was disappointing to see Coleman not get more in a pseudo revenge game against the Falcons. But yeah, with that trailing game script, that became a problem. Jimmy didn't play well either. I mean, he threw, some bad picks, one into triple coverage. So it's just weird that the Falcons are winning these football games.
It sure is. Kyle Pitts returned to this team from his hamstring injury, scored a touchdown. Didn't get that many opportunities, did run 14 routes. That's not a lot total, but it was right with Drake London and Olamide Zaccheaus as the team leaders for the Falcons. So the low volume passing offense is going to continue to hurt, but there was nothing to truly dislike about Kyle Pitts' role yesterday.
Right, exactly. I mean, he scored. Of course, Michael Pruitt opens the game with a touchdown for the Falcons. It's just like he's doing it on purpose now. Now the Falcons are doing it on purpose, meaningfully trying to not throw the ball. It's Kyle Pitts. They scored. Mariota had another rushing score later where Pitts was from the 5-yard line, where Pitts wasn't even on the field, but he does score on a single coverage down on the left slant route. So easy. I'm screaming before the play, like he's in single coverage throw. Mariota looks the safety off. It's so easy. He just makes it look so easy. But you're right with the game script. The thing about the Falcons was we were hoping, okay, they stink. They're going to be trailing and they're going to have to throw all season long. And they haven't. They've been in close games. They've been winning games. This game was another example of them not having to throw. He got, like you said, he was second on the team, I think, in targets, but that's only the 3. So for him to score was just awesome. He was able to get in your starting lineup, but 3 targets stinks. But again, they only threw the ball 14 times.
They do have matchups with the Bengals and the Chargers among the next 3 weeks. Of course, surrounding that, they also have 2 with the Panthers coming up, 1 with the Bears, 1 with Washington, 1 with Pittsburgh. So, I mean, those games could very well find them not throwing the ball a whole lot as well. We'll see where it goes. Got to at least like the matchup with Cincinnati next week for some scoring potential. In the Atlanta backfield, Tyler Algier trailed Caleb Huntley by 1 carry and did not get a target in this game, did still lead the backfield in playing time, ran 12 routes versus 5 for Huntley and Avery Williams combined. So like if you need a Falcons running back, I would still lean Tyler Algier. I think the big takeaway is let's hope that you don't need a Falcons running back.
Right, right. And they actually, I mean, they ran the ball down the Niners' throat the whole game. They were doing whatever they wanted. But yeah, it was split up. Algier 15 carries, Huntley 16 carries, routes run was to Algier. So yeah, you're really just waiting for Cordell to come back to get the pass down and the run down work.
Mm-hmm. They're at Cincinnati, as I mentioned, in week 7. So we'll see how the game flow goes there. But the Bengals defense has been tougher than we expected. So it's not necessarily a pushover matchup. Not that San Francisco was a pushover matchup. I would have figured that they would have more trouble gaining yards and scoring points in this one. Any other takeaways before we move on to the next game?
No, I think that's it.
Patriots 38, Browns 15. And I think, Adam, that sometimes we overrate the idea of the Patriots taking away your top thing on offense. Sometimes I think people go into a game and just assume that, and they downgrade a receiver or a tight end or whatever. I think in this game, the Patriots reminded us that if an offense is kind of too heavy on one area, they are capable of focusing on that area and limiting it. I haven't, I'm not a tape grinder. I don't know how much of it was Patriots defense and how much of it was Patriots offense jumping ahead in the second half and taking the Cleveland running game out of it. But, we got disappointing rushing production from the Browns heading into this game that looked like it was set up for quite a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, Brissett opened the game with the pick, I think on like the first or second play of the game. There were no really points scored in the whole first quarter. It was a defensive grind battle. The Patriots have a fine defense, especially it's easier to take the run game away too when the quarterback is Jacoby Brissett. I mean, he's been fine or whatever, but he doesn't really scare you for sure. So yeah, they were able to take the run game away. What was interesting was though that the Browns were down basically the whole game, and Kareem Hunt only saw one target. Like that was a weird thing. I was kind of excited to get not excited, but I thought this would have been a Kareem Hunt game if in these losing game scripts. Chubb had a nice catch and run, so they got him involved a little bit in the passing game. But yeah, it was just a weird kind of way they were distributing their targets there in Cleveland.
Yeah. I'm not sure that there's a whole lot we can take away from it on what the Browns did, just like a bad game. And let's hope that there's no, kind of blueprint for defending against the Browns from this one. On the New England side, we did not have Damian Harris playing in the game. He was apparently a game time call, working out ahead of time, but was inactive for the game. I would guess that makes him, at least have a decent chance of returning in week 7. We'll see about that. Mac Jones, got to figure there's some chance he returns in week 7. I can't help but roll my eyes every time that it is asked out loud whether there's a quarterback controversy. We have had 3 good games from Bailey Zappe, especially yesterday where he threw for 300 yards against the Browns. But we're talking about the quarterback that New England picked in the first round just last year. So I think, if anything, maybe the way that Bailey Zappe is playing allows the Patriots to take a little more time to be conservative in bringing Mac Jones back. But once Mac Jones is ready, he's the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And again, a lot of it, and he threw for 300 yards on the road. Great, fine. That's what you want from him. But a lot of it was run after catch with Hunter Henry was wide open a couple times. Jonnu Smith had a couple run after catch big plays. A lot of the targets were to the running backs. I mean, it was just an ugly, low ADOT game. Trying to look here. Yeah, we had 5 targets to Ramondre Stevenson. We had 9 targets to the tight ends. I mean, a lot of it was kind of the underneath stuff with the run after catch. So yeah, I think what Zappe does, he gives them time to be able to kind of hold on to Mac Jones there. It's nice to see the Pats tight end get involved now. Hunter Henry had a touchdown, and he had one called back too, where he kind of stepped out of the back of the end zone there. Jonnu Smith looked great for the run after the catch. Like I said, they combined for 9 targets. So I think that's probably their best offense, is running the ball and getting those tight ends involved on the play action.
Mm-hmm. I saw some trade questions about Ramondre Stevenson heading into this game. I think right now is a great time to look at the possibility of trading away Stevenson. Certainly not somebody that you need to get rid of, because even when Damian Harris comes back, Stevenson's obviously going to at least be, splitting the backfield with him. He's given us usable fantasy numbers before Harris went down, but Harris is about to come back, whether it's the coming week or after that. It's going to cut into the available work. We just got 2 really big games from Stevenson. So, where he went in drafts, there's a pretty good chance that there are some fantasy players out there that have multiple running backs that can afford to shop Ramondre Stevenson. So for me, he's one of the bigger try to sell high players this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that he was RB2 this week, and Damian Harris is coming back. I mean, the Patriots want to run the ball. Roger Stevenson is the best running back on that team. I certainly would not give him away, but you can probably find someone to take him and get some good value back in return. So, yeah, I certainly think he's worth trading. But it wouldn't be bad to hold on to him either, because he's going to have some big games too.
Yeah, certainly not somebody to just give up for whatever you can
Right.
get. Somebody to shop to see if you can get a really big return coming off of the 2 big games he just had. Packers lose 27-10 to the Jets. Speaking of big games, primary takeaway for me from this game, Adam, is something that I already knew. The Packers are not that good this year. The second biggest takeaway for fantasy purposes is that week 5 was the outlier for AJ Dillon's use. The playing time yesterday for AJ Dillon was nearly identical to that of Aaron Jones. He beat him by 1 carry, beat him by 1 target. That has been the way for every game outside of the London loss to the Giants. So for now, I mean, until it happens again, unless it happens again, we throw out that Giants game and just consider AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones to be, even partners in this backfield.
Yes, even partners, but Aaron Jones is so much better of an actual player. I mean, AJ Dillon's so slow. I mean, it's just enough already. But yeah, the Packers stink. They don't have a lot of firepower in offense. And even Aaron Rodgers was just saying yesterday in the post-game interview, like, listen, like, these are the players that we have. These are the receivers that we have. We have to simplify it. Like, they're trying to do too much. So maybe that's better for the run game. Maybe it's just going to be a lot more of Jones and Dillon. But what was easy is Robert Tonyan was really, it was very easy for Robert Tonyan yesterday. These simple out routes, these drag routes, Rodgers is finding him all over the field. 12 targets, which is amazing for a tight end, but it just looked easy. So maybe even he'll get more involved here moving forward. But this offense just isn't very good.
Yeah, now this game, they were trailing for a lot of it and by quite a bit. So that, I'm sure, helped Robert Tonyan's time on the field. This usage was certainly out of line with what we've seen so far. But if the Packers aren't that good, then there are going to be other times where they're trailing. So Robert Tonyan's definitely not a gimme going forward, but he is certainly somebody who's going to be in the mix. Top 15, I would say, weekly going forward.
Yeah, for sure. He's in that mix after, we always talk about it, like after tight end 8 or 9. He's certainly startable after that.
And on the Jets side, Breece Hall is awesome, and you should try not to use the passing game because that's what the Jets are doing.
Yeah, Breece Hall is so good. Zach Wilson stinks. He's just his pocket presence, like his arm talent is great. Like he throws a incomplete ball in the end zone. It was a contested, almost a touchdown early in the game where he's rolling right, heading to the sidelines, and the throw looks incredible. So his arm talent's there, but just he doesn't know where to go with the ball. His pocket presence, he's running into sacks. I mean, he had one that was comical where he runs into a defensive player that doesn't even see standing there. And it's too bad. Like the Jets receivers aren't startable at this point. If the team is better than we think, it's kind of like the Falcons. The Jets are better than we think. Their defense is playing better. They're getting punt returns for touchdowns. Like if they're going to play with leads, these Jets receivers are not startable. And I mean, Elijah Moore went publicly yesterday. Was like, hey, I'm happy we're winning, but 0 targets just is impossible for a guy that's that good. So we'll see moving forward. But I would be benching these Jets receivers.
Braxton Berrios apparently has a better chance of running for a touchdown than Elijah Moore has of catching a touchdown.
Incredible.
He also, the 2 touchdown runs in consecutive games are obviously a little bit fluky, but he also has half as many catches as Elijah Moore on the season, 8 catches to 16 for Moore. That's something that shouldn't happen. So, I mean, as you said, just like the way that this offense is, the way that the coaching staff does not want to rely on Zach Wilson, which is smart. Yeah. And just the crowd that's there, it makes it hard to use any of those guys, at least until Joe Flacco comes back.
Right. That would be that's what they need. They need Flacco to come back. Hall almost had a second touchdown too. They ran a little wildcat with him and he made a great play, made a guy miss, hurdled and was down at the half-yard line. And he almost had a second one there. But there are bigger days for Hall coming too.
Colts 34, Jaguars 27. The Jaguars are not as good on offense or defense as we wanted to believe a few weeks ago. Certainly not terrible on either side, but they're evening out right now and showing us what we should actually expect. We had 3 rushing touchdowns by Jacksonville yesterday, 0 of them by either Travis Etienne or James Robinson.
This game, such a simple game, isn't it? Unbelievable. Yeah, everyone's running wild. I mean, Etienne ran wild. He didn't get in the end zone. But yeah, that's tilting. JaMychal Hasty with a 60-yard or whatever it was, 70-yard touchdown run on 2 carries. But
I saw that highlight. That highlight comes up, and I just started laughing. Of course, every time my kids are like, "What's happening?" I'm like, I could explain it to you. It's not going to make any sense. And by the time I explained it, you'd be like, "That's not funny."
That's right. It's the whole Jags offense. Every time you're like, "Oh, it's going to be this guy," it's Tim Jones breaking it. You're like, "Oh, who's that guy?" "Oh, Tim Jones down to the 1 yard." They're like, "Oh my God." Jamal Agnew down to the, "Oh no, it's not my guy." At least Christian Kirk got in the end zone. Only saw five targets. Evan Ingram again led the team in targets, but can't find the end zone either. But he's been fine for fantasy rosters with the horrible tight end position that we have out there. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, man, isn't throwing touchdowns.
Yeah, because he was running for him yesterday. He had 2 short yardage scores. So I mean, it was a fine game for the offense overall. Even Trevor Lawrence went 20 of 22 passing, so they just didn't throw the ball that much. They ran it more than 30 times. They get home dates with the Giants, Broncos, and Raiders the next 3 weeks, so those should be good for any of the offensive pieces at their relative levels. Obviously, we'll project those out to show exactly where we have those guys each week, but nothing to fear in those matchups other than somehow finding a way to lose to the Giants at the end of next week's game, because that's how the Giants operate right now.
That is true. And like you said, 20 to 22, 90% completions for 165 yards. I mean, that's impossible, So he saved his day with two rushing scores, Lawrence did. But yeah, we'd like to see a couple more passing scores.
Mm-hmm. That is a solid 7.5 yards per pass attempt. So, tough to complain too much. And then, as you said, it was nice to see the yardage from Travis Etienne. Nothing really changed in his role, though. He split time with James Robinson, grabbed 2 fewer carries, did okay in the passing game, but he's still the number 2 back there. And if they fall behind, then, he's probably going to get more opportunities than if they're leading.
Absolutely.
Deion Jackson on the other side, 12 carries, 42 yards, and a touchdown, 10 targets, caught all of them for 79 yards before a late quad injury knocked him out for the game. There's not a whole lot to take away from that other than they didn't have any other running backs left. So it was Matt Ryan, and he likes to throw the ball to running backs. There was one available. What I was more surprised by is 11 targets for Paris Campbell. I don't know where those came from. It was the first time this season that he played every offensive snap, although that was up just a little bit from 92% the week before. It was also his first game with more than 4 targets this year. So it's nice. I'm not going to buy his usability until I see more of it, though.
Yeah, real quick with Deion Jackson. If you're wondering what type of game Nyheim Hines was going to have Thursday Night Football, that was it. RB1 before he got hurt. And Deion Jackson is also the best running back on the Buffalo Bills if he was on the Bills too. So Buffalo, go get Deion Jackson. But yeah, it was nice to see Paris Campbell. Yeah, I mean, again, another receiver out of Ohio State, right? Just couldn't, hasn't been healthy. Got him involved. Look great. They all looked great. Yeah, yesterday. Michael Pittman, the defense, their Jags were running a lot of man defense, and they were just killing them with these drag routes. But it was nice to see him out there. 81 snaps, more than any other receiver out there. Tied for the team leading routes run, 10 targets. So yeah, I mean, this is all good for Matt Ryan. Pierce ends up saving his day with a beautiful long touchdown on a fade. So Pierce looked great. This offense was clicking, throwing the ball. The O-line's elite. They can give Matt Ryan time to throw. So just sneaky good offense and moving forward. It was nice to see Pittman kind of have a bounce back game here.
They do have a matchup at Tennessee in week 7. That should be a fine spot for any offensive pieces here. We'll see beyond that because we've had a lot more bad than good from the Colts on offense. Should get Jonathan Taylor back soon. He was trending toward being a possibility for this one. Nyheim Hines coming off a concussion, so he shouldn't be out too much longer. So, Deion Jackson, a nice story yesterday, probably not a factor come week 7. And then we'll see about the health of everybody heading into that game. Vikings 24, Dolphins 16. And honestly, this game pisses me off more than any other on the slate because if Teddy Bridgewater was healthy enough to play in a football game after somebody else went down, then why wasn't he just starting the football game? I don't know if it's out there from Mike McDaniel saying why they went in this direction, but the only explanations are either one, they're faking caution for the player to make sure he's healthy after the Tua situation, which is obviously fake if you do put Teddy Bridgewater into the game after Skylar Thompson goes down, or like overconfidence in your own game planning by saying, well, Skylar Thompson's the guy who's been in there. He's the one we've been working on the game plan with. So he's in this week's game plan. We're going to stick with him over Teddy Bridgewater. That's BS if that's the belief of the coaching staff anyway. So either way, it pisses me off, because if we had Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback for this game, then I would love Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Teddy Bridgewater for the matchup. And all these guys would have been plenty usable. Instead, we had Skylar Thompson coming in as a starter, even with Teddy Bridgewater okay to play football, apparently. So we had Thompson go down. Bridgewater came in, did what we would have guessed he would do against a bad Vikings defense. And, if you started Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, you got rewarded.
You're just fired up because Mike Gesicki was tight end one. That's why you're upset.
Actually, I'm pissed off because I benched Tyreek Hill in one spot where I shouldn't have, but I certainly wouldn't have if I had known he had an NFL quarterback.
Right. No, I get it. And yeah, I think it probably has to do with, I think it's a little bit of both of what you were saying, but it probably has to do with maybe during the week, Skylar Thompson getting most of the, first team reps or whatever, because the Bridgewater was hurt. But the good thing moving forward though, is to see that it doesn't matter really if it's Bridgewater, if it's Tua, like they're going to get their guys the ball and they're going to be fine. So, I mean, even when Skylar started the game, there was fantasy points to be had there, so yeah, it's a funnel. Tyreek's getting his, all the top guys there are going to get theirs. Mike McDaniel knows where to go with the football.
Yep. In the backfield, Chase Edmonds played a lot more than the previous week, played fairly close to Raheem Mostert, just in time on the field, matched him with 2 targets, but barely carried the ball, only 2 carries. So it's clearly Raheem Mostert's backfield. And then we had Myles Gaskin as a healthy scratch. So we've got Raheem Mostert, clear leader, Chase Edmonds, RB2, backfield still, nothing thrilling.
Yeah, and listen, I wouldn't be dropping Edmonds. Raheem Mostert's the starter until he's hurt. Like, it's not like he's going to be a bell cow all year long. Like, every running back's going down. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's going to miss a month. Like, Mostert's going to get hurt. Edmonds is fine. Hold on. You just can't start him until Raheem Mostert goes down. But yeah, for the most part, you're going to start all the other targets there. Waddle, Tyreek Hill combined for 25 targets. Like, keep those guys in your lineups.
On the Vikings side, not a whole lot to take away, but Dalvin Cook did get back to dominating the receiving usage in the backfield. Just 1 target, but 19-4 in routes ahead of Alexander Mattison. Now, for this game, it was Mattison, the one who was questionable coming in with a shoulder injury. So maybe that factored into Mattison not getting on the field for receiving situations. The whole team gets a bye in week 7 to get healthier. So we'll see where we're at on the other side. It hasn't really affected the startability of Dalvin Cook to this point, having him get fewer routes the previous 2 weeks. But obviously, if he reclaims that area, it only makes him a stronger play across fantasy formats.
Yeah, this was a weird game for them. They started slow. I think they only had 15 total yards with like 6 minutes left in the second quarter. Like, it just started slow, and then they kind of exploded according to, over 15 yards. They exploded after that compared to that. Yeah, it was weird. Cook only had, I think, 53 of his 77 yards came on a carry late in the game. So he kind of saved your game there with the 53-yard touchdown. Only 1 target for him, which is, it's tough, man, because like all these running backs were taken in the first round, like those guys got to be bell cows. They got to be getting catches. They got to be getting targets and goal line work, all that stuff. And Cook just isn't getting all that stuff. So he saved the day with a 53-yard score, but we'll see how they look moving forward. 1 target stinks.
Yeah, if we get that kind of route participation going forward, then it should get better than that. He did have 5 and 6 targets back in the first 2 games of this season, but since that shoulder injury, he's gone 0, 2, 2, 1 in the past 4 games. So, again, we'll see where that usage is once the team is back from bye and both he and Mattison are, back closer to full health. Anything else from this game?
I think that's it. They could have, Miami could have scored a lot more points. Waddle fumbled late in the game, so they left some points on the board, but I think that's pretty much it.
Bengals 30, Saints 26. We had a magical Taysom Hill game a week ago. This time we just had 5 carries, 39 yards, 2 of 4 passing, 16 yards, no targets on his 5 pass routes and 15 total snaps. So this is the downside of Taysom Hill. And it's, I don't say it like I told you so about Taysom Hill, but it's like we just have to make sure that we keep all of it in mind. We play him for the upside, but this is more likely to be the kind of game he puts in. And I think it's worth noting that he only played 15 total snaps in a game where the Saints were missing their top 3 wide receivers. So if anything, there was even more incentive, not to mention Jameis Winston still being out. So if anything, there was more incentive to go like a little bit more off book with the game plan and get more Taysom Hill stuff in there. But, it didn't happen. It was still the limited role for him. Didn't go off. Obviously, was still decently involved. The guy who was much better involved, Alvin Kamara, 19 carries, team high 9 targets. So we like that.
Yeah, we love that. Yeah, it was a weird game. Taysom Hill did have that one nice long run there, but yeah, other than that, he wasn't too involved. Yeah, nice to see Kamara. They were getting him involved in the run game. 19 carries, 9 targets. They were on swing passes, arrow routes. Like that's what you want to do when you're missing your top 3 receivers, and that's what you do it when you've got your top 3 receivers because it's going to open the field up even more. I'm excited to see this offense when they can get pseudo healthy. I mean, we've got their top 2 receivers out, and word is that Michael Thomas and not Olave. I'm trying to think of who else they were saying. Yeah, it might have been Landry, and I think Kelly might have got hurt in this game. But yeah, Landry, Michael Thomas, and Landry might not even be back next week either. So it's going to be. I'm excited about this offense when they can get all the pieces back because this coaching staff seems like they know what to do. I mean, they lost, but to put up points in the Bengals like that with nobody but Alvin Kamara is pretty impressive. So let Chris Olave get back healthy, Michael Thomas, all these guys, and this offense could explode.
They're playing Thursday night against Arizona, which challenges the return timelines for those injured receivers. Olave is coming off a concussion. Normally, we've seen guys make it back in that time frame. Obviously, each concussion is different, so no lock. Anybody who makes it back in that pass-catching core to face Arizona gets an upside matchup. So we'll see exactly who's available, and we'll see if Jameis Winston is back in the mix as well. It seemed like he was trending toward playing the past couple weeks, but hasn't quite made it back. So I'll be curious to see what the early practice reports are for this one.
Yeah, they were even saying that if Dalton plays well enough, he could hold on to the job. We'll see about that. I mean, for fantasy, I would much prefer Jameis Winston because he's a gunslinger, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. The Bengals delivered through the air in this one, only ran the ball 14 times. So disappointing numbers for Joe Mixon. He was at least efficient on his 8 carries, 45 yards. We got 10 targets apiece for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So that's good news for T. Higgins. Made it through the game on the iffy ankle that had him questionable. Caught 6 balls for 47 yards. So this is a good news game, I think, for T. Higgins, because if you were worried about the ankle and didn't start him, you're glad to see him get through the game. And he also didn't have the kind of game where you're like, God, why did I not play T. Higgins? 10.7 PPR points is fine. And if you played him, it worked out. There's a chance that you played somebody worse in his place, but it's also not like he went off and is leaving you kicking yourself. Like if you were a dope and took out Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, you're right. It was a win-win. I mean, Higgins finishes. Right now he's wide receiver 35 in PPR. So, I mean, unless you started some player that was terrible over him. I mean, you had some duds though. You had Drake London was a dud. Mike Evans, you were going to start anyways. He was a dud. But other than that, I mean, I started T. Higgins in most spots, but I also started Juju in some spots over him, which I was happy about finally. And we'll get to that. But yeah, Higgins didn't kill you. It's nice to see him he looked good in the game. He got out of the game healthy. And this Bengals passing attack was awesome yesterday. It's nice to see, again, some competent, hey, Marshawn Lattimore's out of the game. Let's just go and throw the ball all over these guys. 300 passing yards. Chase was sensational. He had a 60-yard game-winning touchdown where he broke 2 tackles. He's just so good. I kind of have to say this. I need to get Jamar Chase involved more in the game.
Yeah. But yeah, it was nice to at least see them succeed in that area after really struggling through the first quarter of the season. Certainly missing some DBs for that Saints defense didn't hurt. They have Atlanta coming to town in week 7, and I'm going to go ahead and throw out the result for the 49ers and still call Atlanta quite a nice matchup for the Cincinnati offense this coming week.
Oh, it sounds incredible. I can't wait.
Giants 24, Ravens 20. And I mean, I guess at some point we have to stop being surprised that the Giants beat competent NFL teams, because apparently they at least are decent at playing overall football, even if there's nothing that they do that's exciting right now. For fantasy purposes, no Giant ran more routes in this game than Daniel Bellinger. He had a team high 5 targets, caught them all, and scored a touchdown in this one.
Yeah, Bellinger's coming around. There was always a chance, like with no receivers, that eventually one of these, this tight end would pop here. But yeah, I mean, they're winning games against, teams that are, destroy. I mean, no Rashad Bateman. Lamar Jackson pukes all over himself and throws an interception there late in the game. They're botching snaps, but yeah, no, it's a win's a win for the Giants. But listen, Saquon Barkley here, Wan'Dale Robinson only had played 15 snaps, had 4 targets, scored. Looked like he struggled to catch the ball yesterday. Every time he got it,
I forgot how
he's bobbling. That's right, he's bobbling the ball. It's like his feet are moving faster than his brain. But no, and we kind of knew that there was a chance that they would get Wan'Dale involved more, because that's their guy. They drafted him. But still kind of easing him back in. But Bellinger, yeah, fine. If again, 5 targets, not great, not horrible, but yeah, no, nice all around game for the Giants.
It must be nice to be able to have your feet move faster than your brain, because I've always had the opposite issue when I'm playing sports.
I wish Saquon Barkley's feet moved faster than his brain, falling down at the half-yard line there. Come on, I think a score puts him up like 11. Like, no one's coming back from 11 point. Get in the end zone. Come on.
No, but it was the same thing with the Browns a couple weeks ago. They went up by, I think it was 11 in that game, or maybe it was 10. But either way, it was 2 scores. So you would think, oh, that's safe. You don't need to run out the clock there. You just get the extra points. The other team's not going to do it.
He's in a contract.
It's one of those where I was like,
what's he
crap.
thinking?
Obviously, it's a smart play, but couldn't you not make the smart play? You're a football player. Just act like an idiot and score a touchdown.
Right. Fall into the end zone. Come on.
Yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson, you mentioned, was 5th among Giants wide receivers in playing time for that game, but his 4 targets tied for 2nd on the team, did score that other touchdown pass. So we would assume that there's going to be more playing time for Robinson going forward. Nice to see him get into the end zone right away. We'll see whether Kadarius Toney still exists in the coming weeks. Yeah. On the Ravens side, J.K. Dobbins' knee tightened up for the second half, so he sat out that portion of the game. Kenyon Drake took advantage. That situation, just kind of reminds us of the fragility of J.K. Dobbins' situation right now. So you can't overtrust him, and it makes all the Ravens backs around him stashable, in leagues of various sizes. Obviously, not only is Kenyon Drake worth a stash in certain places right now where he wasn't already stashed, Gus Edwards is still worth stashing. He's going to be coming back soon. I know he's also coming off an ACL tear, but we'll see exactly what's going on with him and his knee.
Yeah, it's going to be, you can't really start Dobbins now going forward, until we see some consistency. I mean, he's looked good, but again, it's, if he's not going to play, or if his knee's going to tighten up or whatever, we can't trust, especially if he's not going to catch passes when he's in the game. So it's just, you got to sit him out. I hate that Kenyon Drake is number 17. Can I just say that? Who is this guy running it's Kenyon Drake. Oh, it's terrible. But yeah, you're right. All these running backs are stashable because all they want to do is run the ball. And so, yeah, get yourself pieces of the Ravens backfield.
Steelers 20, Bucks 18. Another surprising result. I think on the Bucks side first, I'm not sure there's a whole lot to take away from this one for fantasy purposes, other than they had a bad game. It's probably going to happen again at some point, but I didn't see anything change in the way these guys were used or my expectations for this team going forward.
Yeah, it's generally the same every week. It's Deontay Johnson and Claypool kind of neck and neck for the league and for the lead in targets, and then Pickens is always right behind them. 7 each for Claypool and Johnson, and 6 for Pickens. They're getting them involved more in the run game too, which I like. Two carries for Deontay, 1 each for Pickens and Claypool. So it's smart to get them involved there. But again, this is a tough Bucks defense. We weren't expecting the Steelers to come in here and score a ton of points. They pulled out the win, but not a ton of points there. But we'll see. The schedule will certainly soften up moving forward.
Concussion for Kenny Pickett knocked him out of this one, brought in Mitchell Trubisky late. Whoever's the quarterback next week will get a positive passing matchup at Miami on Sunday night. So we'll see if Pickett trends toward being usable. At this point, we should bet that he's out and that Mitchell Trubisky starts this one. Probably not usable in most fantasy formats. probably doesn't make a whole lot of a difference for the Steelers wideouts for that particular game. So we'll track that through the week and see what happens. Jaylen Warren remained close to Najee Harris in receiving usage in this game, 12 routes to 17 for Najee Harris. And I mean, I get trying to find playing time for Jaylen Warren, but this is a big knock on Najee Harris because really, I think the only thing to like about him coming into the season was that he had this extreme receiving role. And if that's not extreme anymore, all we've got is just an okay running back in a bad offense and with lackluster efficiency so far. So given that we had a touchdown catch from Najee Harris in this one, an okay rushing day, I would be trying to sell him really at any point that he's coming off a positive game. And I think the touchdown makes this one of those.
Yes, I would be looking to sell him as well. Yeah, Najee. Anytime you score as a running back and finishes RB16, that's not a good sign. Like, and of course he scores on a reception early in the. I actually benched Najee for, I forget who I benched him for, but I was regretting it immediately, and then I'm like, oh, that ended up not being a terrible decision because he finishes RB16. He needs the pass volume. He needs the rushing volume. Again, in a game where they're winning, Tip has a good defense. Again, we weren't expecting things out of Najee Harris, so it was nice to get that touchdown and have him finish his RB16. You might be relieved. But Jaylen Warren just looks awesome, right? He just looks more explosive. I think it was a 4th and short or a 3rd and short where they gave the ball to Jaylen Warren and not Najee. So we'll see moving forward here. I mean, you probably can't get much for Najee, but if you can, coming off a touchdown game here, I would certainly try to trade him.
And there are plenty of running back needy teams out there, so it's
Correct.
at least worth checking into. And he's somebody that I wouldn't be scared of unloading for maybe even a little bit less than I would be hoping to get for him because I haven't been excited about him at all. And nothing this season has made me feel any differently about his outlook. One other minor note, if Pat Freiermuth remains out for week 7, Zach Gentry does not look usable. He split routes with rookie Connor Hayward, split targets with him as well. So it's just a situation to avoid, even if you're needy at tight end. Rams 24, Panthers 10. And turns out, Adam, that things don't automatically get better if you take Baker Mayfield out of the lineup because PJ Walker threw for 60 yards here before leaving that game with a neck injury and giving way to Jacob Eason.
Impossible. How do we throw for 60? You would think just on like running around, buying time, and launching the ball up, you'd throw for more. It was not DJ Moore week. I was kind of saying that facetiously all week long, but it's not DJ Moore week. He got 6 targets, fine, but what do you have, like 2 catches for 2 yards or something? Like just so gross.
He had 7 yards.
Just so gross. Gross. DJ Moore, along with the Jets receivers, are benchable for the rest of until we see something different. So yeah, maybe it's not just the quarterback. Maybe it's Robbie Anderson too. I mean, he took a walk Antonio Brown style mid game. So we'll see how that turns out. But hey, maybe they get a quarterback back in return for a trade for CMC. We'll see.
He at least didn't remove any clothing on the way, but got sent to the locker room in the 4th quarter of this game. Seemed like he didn't understand why it happened after the game. You could see him getting in the face of the coach. We've seen that on the sideline before. So it is a little surprising to see the coach send him away. It makes you wonder if it was something specific that Robbie Anderson said here, if it's just like trying to set a tone in the first game after they made the coaching switch, if there's more of a history of stuff with Robbie Anderson, at least this season. I don't know. We'll see. The only thing usable right now in Carolina is Christian McCaffrey. So if he does get traded away, it's just going to be an offense that we can ignore.
Oh yeah, if he gets traded away, it's over for Carolina. We won't even cover him on the post game podcast. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey was awesome. 13 carries, 8 targets. Just give him that every week, and he'll be an RB1.
And just to answer the question that's going to come up, who's the Panthers running back to own after McCaffrey gets traded? Nobody. Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard are going to split work in a garbage offense, and neither one is going to be helpful.
Yeah, I agree there. I did preemptively try to grab like $1 shares of them only because if he does get traded with injuries and bye weeks, like if you need someone to start to put in there, maybe one of them falls in for a touchdown if in an absolute miracle, but having bodies once these injuries and bye weeks come up is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're just looking to stash somebody, then sure, stash either one. But they're also both on, even footing as far as the amount of work they're going to get. So there's no this guy over that guy in that Carolina backfield. And we'll see if Christian McCaffrey even gets traded. I doubt that Carolina is just going to give him up for whatever
They
they can
should.
get. So we'll see if another team does pay enough to get out. They certainly should at
They
this
should.
point. But, we'll see where this one goes. On the Rams side, it was an okay game for the offense. The Panthers defense is not a pushover, so won't complain about not getting more from this Rams offense. We can expect Darrell Henderson to control this backfield going forward because apparently Cam Akers had his own Antonio Brown style confrontation or showdown or, thing with the Rams coaches before this game. Nothing all that dramatic, but dramatic enough that he was a healthy scratch for this game and sounds like he's expected to get moved somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, if people aren't going to trade for McCaffrey, why the heck are they going to trade for Cam Akers? I mean, it's not that he doesn't. Yeah, I guess he does. He doesn't look good. He's not going to help anybody. But there's decent game here from Darrell Henderson. I hope the Rams just stay with Henderson the rest of the year and filter in. Like if Henderson can get 12 carries and maybe 3 to 5 targets every week, fine. He's startable. But Ronnie Rivers, the coming out party for Ronnie Rivers never happened. 1 carry, one target, but this run game's kind of a mess, for sure, to say the least. But Henderson's definitely startable.
I was surprised that we didn't get more carries from Henderson in a game that they won
Agreed.
by 14 points.
Yeah.
He did play about 3 times the snaps of Malcolm Brown, who was the number 2 running back for this game. So I think we'll get better games from Henderson going forward. I come away liking the usage and just, liking that we can at least play one Rams running back going forward instead of dissecting how much time each of them is spending on the field and wondering if either is going to help us or if one is going to steal a touchdown from the other.
Agreed.
Seahawks 19, Cardinals 9. The biggest takeaway here, these Cardinals stink. They are going to spend the year doing a lot less on offense than they should based on the level of talent. So just factor that into your decisions about everybody in the Arizona offense going forward. Making it worse, Marquise Brown was in a boot after this game with a foot injury, and that's especially bad timing for him because we've got DeAndre Hopkins eligible for week 7. And as I mentioned before, we've got Arizona playing on Thursday night. So we'll see whether Marquise Brown has a shot at playing in this game. We'll see about Hopkins' status, but I'm assuming he'll be ready to play in this game. We'll see if we find out anything about how much he's ready to play. This game should be a lot more exciting, New Orleans versus Arizona, than it is, because I'm not excited about it at all.
I know it should be. It's because of the injuries, though, too. I mean, well, but hold on. Before we move on too further, I don't want to just gloss over Allen Robinson's coming out party here for the Rams. Okay, I think he's wide receiver 14 right now. Fade route. It was a designed play for Robinson. Went up, caught it, looked beautiful. That's what we need going forward. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, back to the Cardinals Seahawks. Yeah, it's with all these injuries, and the injury doesn't look good from hearing from all the Twitter doctors. It might be a Liz Frank re-injury. It might be turf toe or something of that nature. So there's no way he's playing. There's no way he's playing Thursday. Hopkins is supposed to be back. So again, this whole wait till we get Hopkins back for Kyler Murray, and now he loses Marquise Brown. But Rondale Moore looked like he can play that Marquise Brown role a little bit. So I think it might be okay. But it's just disappointing because this offense needs all their weapons because Kingsbury's a dope. So they need all these weapons. Kyler opens the game with a 40-yard run. Drive stalls at the 3. Next drive they get the ball, get inside the 20. Kyler bounces a pass on 4th and 4 to a wide open Marquise Brown. So they're moving the ball up and down the field. They're just when they get that inside the 10, they're not able to punch it in.
Cliff Kingsbury needs to leave football and go into marketing because he's clearly just sold nothing here. His record as a coach is winning absolutely nothing with Patrick Mahomes as his college quarterback and now doing absolutely nothing with Kyler Murray and other offensive talent available in Arizona.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't know what's going on there. They better figure, but at least when they kind of first started, when he got there, they were doing some creative stuff down by the goal line. It was, Kyler Murray was running for touchdown after touchdown because of what they were able to do with him. I don't know why they're not doing that with him down there. It's hard. It's harder for him to throw the ball. I mean, he's like 5'9". Like, it's hard for him just to drop back in the red zone with 22 bodies. They're all bigger than he is. Get him outside the pocket, man. Do some creative things with him. They're not doing it.
We'll see whether James Conner's ready to play Thursday night. We'll see about Darrell Williams' knee. If there's no James Conner, I think you just pass on this backfield, if possible. Otherwise, we're getting to the part of the season where you might not be able to just pass on a backfield, but there are at least, I think, only 2 bye teams in week 7. So it should be a better situation than this first. No, I'm wrong. There's 4 bye teams: Buffalo, Rams, Minnesota, Philadelphia. I was looking ahead at week 8 earlier. That's when we only have 2 bye teams.
Man, those are 4 tough buys coming up here with all the fantasy studs on those rosters.
That's right. Seattle in this game, the offense a little bit disappointing in a positive matchup with Arizona, but really I don't think there's a whole lot to take away other than that Kenneth Walker's here.
Oh yeah, super disappointing. I mean, every team is smashed against Arizona. It would have been Lockett and Metcalf weren't even involved in the first half. They only combined for 10 targets on the game. Now I will give them credit; there was a bunch of other kind of ancillary pieces that were doing very, very well. But but yeah, it would have been nice to see those 2 guys go crazy. Kenneth Walker is here. He's real and he's spectacular, right? He's so good. He looked so quick. He looked like the stud he was coming out of Michigan State. We said it last week when he got the job, man. He could be a league winner, type pick in the 9th, 10th round with that injury to Rashad Penny. So that's what it's looking like so far. And so if you got him on your roster, be super, super stoked because he's going to be big time moving forward. Nice to see him get 3 targets in the game. Not sure how that happened because he can't catch. So I don't know how we got through 3 targets, but we'll take 21 carries and 3 targets every week from Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I heard that he was allergic to passing snaps. So
that's what I heard. That's what I heard too. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing.
21 of 23 running back carries in this game, all 3 of the running back targets. So you got to love that, along with the production, 97 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Noah Fant's 7 targets were nice, but we can't overrate that because he did still split time with Will Dissly. So, it's the kind of game that's going to pop up because he's a talented player and he's in an offense where apparently they're not scared to keep it away from the star wideouts, but nothing really changed with Noah Fant versus previous.
Yep.
Bills 24, Chiefs 20. Adam, what you got from this game?
Oh, I mean, what don't I have for you in this game? I wish we would have had more points. Bills get the ball, drive right down the field. And then I don't know if the play to McKenzie was supposed to be a read option. And then I don't know if Josh panicked and tried to flip it to him, but McKenzie did his best to lose this game for the Bills. Fumbles that one, drops one in the end zone, drops one later. Like, get this guy off the field. Okay. But no, I mean, you just saw everything that you needed to see. I mean, Josh Allen, what can he do? He runs over you, through you, around you, throws it over you.
And then takes selfies with your kids after the
game. Selfies with your kids. I mean, he's incredible. There's not a quarterback in the league that can do anything better than Josh Allen. So, if you drafted him as QB1, he's going to be QB1 again for the 3rd year in a row, which has only been done twice before. Let's get it 4 or 5 straight years. Let's go for the whole thing. So
he should be running for governor of New York right now.
He would win in a landslide. Absolutely.
It would definitely be a step down in job for him.
That's right.
Yeah. So Isaiah McKenzie had a terrible game, and he also played well behind Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Saw some time go to Khalil Shakir, and the way he performed, I mean, jokes aside, it should get more Khalil Shakir into the game because Isaiah McKenzie has to show that there's a reason for him to be on the field more than he was yesterday. He certainly didn't show that in that game.
Right. And Shakir looks better. I mean, he only got 2 targets, but he looked good. I think they're just trying to work him into the offense. That was like a playoff game for the Bills. That's their rival. It's gonna be hard to let a rookie get rolling in that game. But they're going into a bye week now. Maybe they come out of the bye week and Shakir gets more involved. Gabe Davis was doing his normal thing, 4 to 6 targets, scoring, gets one-on-one coverage with a rookie corner, touchdown. Diggs was incredible. Gabe Davis still doesn't look. he doesn't look back to full speed. He's not hobbling, but his explosiveness just doesn't seem to be there. It's doing well enough. Last week he had 2 big plays, but even Stephon Diggs on social media was ripping on him because he looked so slow. Gabe Davis. So we'll see. Maybe he gets the bye week, he gets right. But this offense is just awesome. Josh Allen's the best.
Devin Singletary also dominated backfield playing time in this one. So he'll be getting the snaps as long as they're not 37 points ahead of opponents, which unfortunately is going to happen at times if you are trying to use Devin Singletary. In the other backfield, Jerick McKinnon played more snaps than Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the 3rd time in 4 games. You hate that as a CEH owner. It's not quite to the point of making McKinnon usable unless you're really hard up for a running back. Just something to be aware of. And, one of those reasons that you keep trying to shop CEH if he's still on your team.
Yeah, CEH kind of the shine is worn off. He had he was great for the first couple of weeks as far as production, fantasy production, but now it's back to like this but you can't start any of them. So it's not like, oh, okay, well, we'll go ahead and start McKinnon. What you need is some sort of injury to that backfield or something where it's down to a 2-man backfield. But not that Pacheco's doing a ton, but it would just nice to see them kind of get Edwards-Helaire or McKinnon involved, so at least you can start one of them. But it was ugly backfield usages this week.
We do have San Francisco as the matchup next week. I don't think that's an opponent likely to jump out to a lead, but we'll see. If they don't, then we could get more usage for Clyde Edwards-Helaire before the game, I don't know, gets out of hand one way or the other. So we'll see. I mean, you can still use CEH, but he's more like RB25 than RB16, and certainly not anywhere near where his fantasy point total still is for the season.
Agreed.
Big game for Juju Smith-Schuster, which had to have you both happy and angry at the time that it was happening, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's nice to see, it's one of those where, he hasn't been terrible. It's not like he's been Allen Robinson where it's just that nothing makes sense. Like they've been getting him a little bit more involved. He hadn't scored yet. And so he kind of got, I don't want to say lucky, but he somehow broke 3 tackles and scored on like a 40-yarder. But the good thing about him is they were using him as like they would use a number 1 receiver. They're lining him up outside. They were throwing quick fades to him. They were throwing him as like the primary read in a normal passing offense rather than trying to like gimmick and scheme up stuff for him that way. So that was good to see them start to do that. And Juju could capitalize on it. Again, he's not a great player, but if he's the number 1 receiver for Patrick Mahomes, obviously outside of Travis Kelce, then he's going to have more weeks like this, So 5 targets isn't great, but he scores that long one and has his biggest game of the year.
Yeah, and it was only Travis Kelce that had more targets than that among
Correct.
Chiefs yesterday. So give me a quick replay. What was it like for superfan Adam Krautwurst, superfan of the Bills and superfan of Juju Smith-Schuster in fantasy this year, to watch the 42-yard catch and run touchdown?
It was interesting because I was at a party that I never should have been at. And I'm there and I'm watching Red Zone on my phone and we're watching the Bills game on the TV. And my phone is ahead of the TV. So I knew Juju scored before the rest of the party. So I kind of had like 30 seconds to kind of get my composure and kind of like, okay. And then I'm checking rosters like, okay, I'm going to make sure I started him in all the spots I should have started him. And I did. So it was fine. Listen, I knew the Bills were going to win. It's Josh Allen. I wanted a shootout. I started all my Chiefs, all my Bills, score 70 points. The good thing about this game from a full size fantasy perspective though, was that like all the major players were the guys that scored. You had Diggs, you had Gabe Davis, Josh Allen, Juju, Kelce, and Mahomes. So kind of the ancillary pieces stunk, but if you started the studs, you were happy.
I was pissed because I had to use MVS in one spot, and then
touchdown
we had
called back.
One that looked like a touchdown called back by a penalty. Then the other one where he had the end zone target and Kair Elam just stole it away from him as an interception. Right. Like, all right, forget it. I guess maybe I shouldn't have used Marquez Valdez-Scantling, even if I have to.
That's right.
Anything else from that game?
No, I think that's it.
Eagles 26, Cowboys 17 last night. It was a light passing game for the Eagles. They didn't need to do a whole lot. We knew that Dallas is tough against the pass. So, if you did use either AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, you got touchdowns there. Tough to complain. Dallas Goedert struggled, but, got 5 targets. Wasn't much of a chance to do a whole lot. We got another 18 carries for Miles Sanders, so he continues to control that backfield. Obviously nice to see him get that kind of work, scored a touchdown when the team is ahead. And this looks like a team that's going to spend plenty of time ahead.
Yeah, no, and their schedule looks sweet coming up. I mean, yeah, Dallas Goedert was a bit of a bummer. I'd like to see him kind of get more in a game like that. But five targets is fine. Yeah, this offense has so many ways to beat you. They can ground and pound you. They can spread you out and beat you with AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. They can, Jalen Hurts can run all over you. So this Eagles offense is awesome. Their defense is great. They're the NFC version of the Buffalo Bills. You and I, man, we got to travel to Arizona in a couple months here and enjoy that game together. But yeah,
I think I'm going to save $10,000 and watch it from my house.
Okay, fine. We just got to win some more of these underdog over-unders. It'll pay for it. Come on. But no, a little bit disappointing as far as from a fantasy perspective from the whole team from where they kind of started. But the offense kind of slowed down there in the second half.
Yeah. On the Dallas side, we got more touches for Tony Pollard in the kind of game that you would expect to get him more touches. The playing time was still at 40%. So he didn't get on the field anymore, but did get the ball coming his way. We'll see if that's just how it goes when Dallas is playing from behind, or if there's any kind of shift to get him the ball more going forward. We should at least get Dak Prescott back for this offense in week 7, which, it's been nice that Cooper Rush has kept the Cowboys from tanking in the 5 games since Dak Prescott went down. But obviously everything is better for the Dallas offense if Dak Prescott is back in charge.
Who the hell is Peyton Hendershot? Okay, what? Who the heck is that guy? No, I completely tight end. I completely agree that everything's better. This ceiling, I think, is certainly better. It was nice to see Lamb with such a slow start I think he ended up with like 12 fantasy points, which is nice in a game like that. You're like, my God, just get me to double digits here in the fourth quarter. But Lamb got there. I can't wait for Dak to come back and kind of get all these pieces back up there where they should be.
Yeah, probably the last chance to buy CeeDee Lamb before Dak Prescott comes back. And by the way, we had news on this show last week with Matt Rule getting fired. We got more Carolina Panthers news right now because I just saw it reported that the Cardinals have traded for Robbie Anderson.
Yes.
We've got Robbie Anderson about to be an Arizona Cardinal for this Thursday night game. I wonder if that also points to the severity of the foot injury with Marquise Brown. I mean, I doubt that you had to trade a whole lot to get Robbie Anderson right now. So it could just be like, why not? We'll bring in somebody else to try to help things get right here. But I mean, there's immediate opportunity for him in an offense that's terrible.
Yeah, how good is that for Kyler? I mean, now you got Rod. I mean, when all the pieces are there, holy cow, they're going to be deep. They're going to be fast. I don't think that helps. That does kind of points of maybe Marquise Brown being a little bit of trouble there, which stinks because I do have quite a bit of Marquise Brown. And he's been playing really, really well this year. So we'll see moving forward, but that's an interesting trade. Maybe that's just the first chip to fall for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, certainly a predictable chip. I think we're all like, they're selling guys. I bet they would like to give Robbie Anderson to somebody.
Well, interesting about Robbie too. Like I watched an interview with him last week before the game, and they were talking about Matt Rule being. Robbie just looked miserable. Didn't want to answer the question. Just didn't even want to talk to anybody. And he looked like he didn't even know where he was. He was in the locker room, just like looking around. Like
he's an odd dude.
He's such an odd. I mean, he's such an odd dude.
I always like the video clip of him when he was in his first season with the Panthers and saw the mascot up in the upper deck. And he's like, yo, what's that black bear up there? Dude, you're on the Carolina Panthers. What animal do you think that's supposed to be?
What a goofball.
At least it tends to be fun as opposed to anything worrisome. All right. Anything else from this Philly-Dallas game before we close out?
No, I mean, interesting. Dallas was able to pound the ball. I think Zeke and Pollard both hit their overs on rushing yards. And so good for them. Zeke still looks terrible. Pollard needs the ball more. But other than that, let's get Dak back.
I don't think Zeke looks terrible. I think he looks like a running back who's on his second contract and doesn't have a whole lot of time. But he's, it's not like he gets the ball and falls over. Especially last night, I thought he was solid.
Yeah, he runs pure for 3 yards. I'll give him that.
There you go. I certainly agree that they need to get Tony Pollard more touches. I don't know why last night's usage is not the typical for him, especially over a span where they don't have their starting quarterback. But I mean, we knew as soon as they hired Mike McCarthy that we were going to be asking ourselves questions like that along the way.
That's true.
He was the one who used to limit Aaron Jones for getting Jamal Williams more touches, right? In Green Bay.
Yeah, got to. I mean, come on. I mean, it makes sense.
All right. That's going to do it for the week 6 recap pod. Before we get any other coaches fired or players traded, you can head over to draftsharks.com now. You can find showdown tips for tonight's slate, the Chargers Broncos game to close out week 6. You can also find more recaps from all of the week 6 games in our free Shark Bites section. Then you'll find us looking ahead to week 7. Our rankings for week 7 will go live midday Tuesday. We will have free agent focus articles for leagues of all sizes, including IDP formats. And we've got our third buy sell hold report of the season coming Wednesday. Adam, you guys got anything special on the docket for the Wednesday night show with Mike?
Yeah, the Wednesday night deep end. Hopefully, we'll see if Mike's still in first place in the Draft Sharks Invitational. My guy Mike, and then we'll go over some waiver wire ads you can make for your Wednesday night waiver runs, and then the high stakes leagues, and we'll cover some topics from this week. Maybe even the Arizona Cardinals getting Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, I might have time to digest that by then.
That's right.
For Adam Krautwurst, the entire Draft Sharks crew, I'm Matt Schaff saying thanks so much for swimming with us.